Gaddafi is an enigma wrapped in an enigma, but there's even some questions about his mother being full-blooded Italian, so he may not be a pure-blooded Arab.
Wow. Well, we're going to come back and get into other facets of this, but studying the region and the other larger geopolitical ramifications, who are the different factions? What countries do you see that are going to fall next? What do you think about Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Yemen, even Jordan? We've got now riots flaring up in and around Israel and the West Bank and other areas, some rockets being fired, reportedly. I mean, it's like somebody lit the fuse and the bombs are starting to go off in a chain reaction. Wayne Madsen's our guest. I'm Alex Jones with Infowars.com. All right, Wayne, finishing up with this. Specifically, what do you make of Obama talking about an international force invading? Do you think that's on the table with all those ships and task forces there in the Mediterranean right off the coast, loitering about? And then expanding on that, how do you see this going just from your research? What are your different scenarios? And what's the larger geopolitical ramifications?
Well, I think Obama, what he was doing, I mean, he's so late to the game on all these crises in these countries. He had to say something. He hadn't said anything about Libya. As far as military action, the State Department couldn't even organize a ferry for U.S. Citizens trapped there, a ferry to Malta. Then it got trapped in Tripoli because of bad weather. So if they can't even organize a ferry ride for Americans, I doubt that they could do anything as far as any sort of military intervention. We're spread so thin, I'd be surprised his generals would even go along with that at this point in time, but and admirals in the case of the Navy. But I see what's going to happen is I think Gaddafi's days are numbered. If he doesn't commit suicide or he's not shot by one of his own officers, I think he'll probably go into one of the sub-Saharan African countries, which he's lavished with huge amounts of aid. He owns property in Zimbabwe. He may wind up there. He could very easily wind up in one of these other tin-horn dictatorships that he supported over the years.
So any day now, he could run to South Africa.
Oh, he could go to South Africa. I don't know whether they'd want him there, but certainly Zimbabwe, Burkina Faso, Gambia, all run by dictators who Gaddafi has supported over the years and who like him. So he would be welcomed by those dictators, not by the people, certainly. I think as far as what's going to happen, I think he'll be replaced by, we know a number of his generals have defected. I think they'll wind up on some sort of a temporary government, a national emergency, which will try to steady things out for Libya and try to de-Gaddafiize the country because his presence is everywhere in Libya. And I think as far as the next dominoes, Saudi Arabia definitely, I think, is on the brink. I'm hearing from people in the Saudi opposition, they don't care about the king coming back and throwing money. They want him gone. They wish he had stayed in Morocco where he supposedly was undergoing some sort of medical treatment. They don't want him back in Saudi Arabia. And the other thing is, look, after the royal family there goes, don't even use the term. The country's name will change. The Saudis are the ruling family. The opposition certainly would not keep that name in the country's name. And I think we're talking more in terms of a democratic republic of Arabia. And the
country's only 100 years old.
Absolutely. And it was originally two different countries. We have 2 million Shias in the eastern province where the oil is, for the most part. The refineries are there. They're seeing what's happening to the Shias in Bahrain, who are a clear majority over there, and they don't like it. And they know that the Bahrain king and the Saudi king are, mano a mano here on a lot of these issues. As a matter of fact, King Hamad of Bahrain welcomed King Abdullah back from Morocco and Saudi Arabia. I also think that in Yemen we're going to see probably the Saleh regime fall there, and we'll see the restoration of the independence for South Yemen. It used to be independent. It was cobbled together with North Yemen basically by the United States and other Western countries. The South Yemenis always felt messed over by that. So I think we're going to see the independence of South Yemen restored. And as far as other on the periphery, I think the King of Morocco is under a lot of pressure to give up some of his powers. We're going to see some movement there. King Abdullah of Jordan, of course, he and his father, Hussein, accepted billions of dollars from the CIA. They're basically they're U.S. puppets. I think he's going to be under a lot of pressure as well. And on the periphery, look for the regime in Djibouti, where the U.S. has an NSA base and a military base. Look for that regime that's been there ever since independence in 1978. Look for that to go.
Well, it's encouraging that you don't think that this is as big a threat as some do with some of the high-tech and very deadly weapons that Gaddafi has, and that then it sounds like you're saying you're leaning towards him fleeing instead of battling it out with nerve gas, though he said he's going to die on Libyan soil. I mean, I think it's a wild card, but we're going to go to break. I want to come back and ask why you think this isn't going as well as the globalists thought it would with these overthrows and attempted destabilization campaigns that are still ongoing. Certainly the stock market has spoken. Certainly the oil markets and commodity markets have spoken. Medvedev over in Russia says look for decades of turmoil now in the Middle East. So a lot of people think this is really going to just get worse and worse. But we'll come back with you, Wayne, for a few more minutes and get your view on that. And why you think the globalists triggered this to begin with. I mean, what are they looking for? We'll be right back. Stay with us. Wayne Madsen's our guest.
We're on the march.
Now, we're talking about the serious geopolitical systems that are unfolding right now. Wayne, is there any doubt in your expert analysis that the underpinning of all these crises, though, is dollar devaluation and commodities going up? In third world countries, as you know, most people spend about half or more of all of their money on heating oil, power, and food. And so whereas food prices going up here hurts Americans, but doesn't put most Americans on the streets, and there's something of a social welfare net here with 43 million plus Americans on food stamps, and the globalists have created that crisis and are now trying to trigger this domino effect. But what was their goal, and why do you think they're failing? Because you mentioned that earlier, but I want to spend some more time on that.
Well, I think the North African countries, like the European countries, especially those that on the Mediterranean coast, are being hit by the same sort of austerity measures, World Bank, IMF-imposed measures, which has driven up the cost of food, of petrol, of gasoline, lots of unemployment amongst the young people. These are people with advanced degrees, college degrees, masters, and even PhDs, and that just triggers this type of revolt. And Libya was certainly no exception to this, as we saw with Tunisia and Egypt. I would note that Gaddafi today was blaming Osama bin Laden and al-Qaeda for the revolt in Libya against him. My God, he sounds like George W. Bush, or when they got to pull the al-Qaeda rabbit out of the hat. He sounds like Obama or Napolitano and these people. But he's in full agreement with propaganda coming from Israeli-linked websites saying that al-Qaeda in the Maghreb is all behind the rebellion against Gaddafi. So, this non-existent bin Laden, he's citing him as a threat. I think he's desperate. He's using the same boogeyman that W has used and others in this country. And I think we will not be seeing Mr. Gaddafi around Libya. I would give him a matter of days, if maybe a week, but no more than that.
And you're predicting he'll run to Zimbabwe, just north of South Africa.
Yeah, he'll go there, or one of these other dictatorships where he's very, he's pumped hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars into propping up the regime. So if he's not shot or he doesn't shoot himself, I think that, and I doubt he's good. Some people think he might commit suicide. The guy's incredibly vain. The suits he wore were the best Italian-made suits you could find. The guy has really got a vanity issue. I doubt he would take his own life. I think he'll either run or they're going to grab him and string him up.
Why they put the British Foreign Ministry, as you noticed on Monday, put out the fact that he'd run to Venezuela and said that they'd confirmed it. Was that just to further destabilize him in the country?
Possibly, because Chavez basically said, look, we don't want him over here. I got enough issues with the United States. I don't want to be accused of harboring Gaddafi on top of everything else. So, yeah, William Hague, of course, the British Foreign Secretary, is a real, if you talk about anyone who's tied in with the CFR and that crowd, look no further than a guy like William Hague. I mean, he's really polished, but he's a consummate liar.
Wayne Madsen, briefly, and then we're going to let you go. WayneMadsenReport.com. Again, what do you see as the next big hotspots? Do you expect other countries to fall?
I would watch Algeria, although that regime is being propped up by Sarkozy in France. I would look at Morocco. I don't think we're going to see hard falls there like we saw in Tunisia, Egypt, and soon in Libya. Yemen definitely, I think, is going to be a hard fall with the reemergence of independent South Yemen, North Yemen being independent as well. And Saudi Arabia, the opposition there is getting very well organized.
Well, we just lost Wayne. His phone cut, but it was time for him to go. Thank you, Wayne Madsen, for joining us. Now,